I will call you. I need introduction.
I think the only time when that's worked is when we walk off stage and there's been no power cuts in between.
Clifton Downs, high above Bristol, and preparations for a festival with a difference. No cars, no diesel, no rubbish. Bristol's trip-hop superstars, Massive Attack, are trying to prove there's a better way.
12 million litres of diesel burnt annually in our country to power outdoor events. This is the first time an event this big, 30-odd thousand people, has been powered entirely with batteries.
But why can't you just plug it into the mains?
Great question, because there's no mains here.
There's no mains.
And that's the fundamental problem of outdoor events.
For anyone who's panicked about their phone battery, this is on a whole different level. This is what most festivals look like when everyone's gone home. Here, they're hoping no rubbish. Honestly.
This is going to be composted.
So this stuff that's normally thrown on the ground, you can just put it in the compost heap.
You can put it into
And
the
what about
compost.
all the cups that's always left behind?
The cups are reusable, so they're made from a reusable vessel which we can take back and wash and use again and again.
And this is just a fraction of everything they're trying. For the band, who've long had a passion for these issues, this is way more than just another gig.
This is just something that we love doing, and it's our bit to help, really.
Yeah, this is definitely one to get out of bed for, isn't it? I think leaving this gig behind as a legacy to our history of the city and our performances in the city would be the best thing we can offer.
So, why we chose this? Because we want to discuss about the role of creative industries. Many of you come from this side, but others didn't. So, culture and art are sectors with an impact on how we design the well-being in cities. And we listen to music, we go to the cinemas, we consume culture, and creators have a powerful role for transforming with social and political impact. So I would like to welcome Nis to the stage and the rest of the people. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Just a minute, thanks for this fantastic collaboration with the Hearth Summit, and to be able to. I don't think for me this is not as much as a talk as it is a run through of brilliant initiatives out there. So it's not that much talk. It is more presentations and insights to what organizations like the ones that you represent is doing at the moment. So we have Vickie, who is representing In Place of War, Misia, who is representing Music Declares Emergency, Becky from EarthSonic, Tori representing Tori, I guess, Climate Life. I must say that I've not been working with climate as a thing for that long. Actually, a couple of years ago, I met an American guy, and we came to talk. He's a musician. He's a recording engineer, been doing great stuff out of the US that we all know. Dire Straits, Grace Jones, Trevor Horn stuff. So he knows his way around. But from that kind of companionship, we started to talk, because I came from Paris. We met in Copenhagen. It was 43 degrees in Paris. I have never experienced that before. And he lives in LA, and we have common friends from Topanga, and they moved because of wildfires. And his wife was a wildlife photographer, and we came to talk about climate. I was about to launch the first edition of our yearly event from Europe in Synch, which is a European project, and we called it the Europe in Synch Lab. And I was quite confused what to do with this lab, because we have conferences about music, synchronization, film and TV, culture, all over Europe. But having the talk with, and sorry, that was like coming out of the pandemic. I was on my way to Reeperbahn music conference in Germany, feeling quite awkward knowing that in a week I would stand there with a beer in my hand as everything was normal, with an industry that just came out of this pandemic. And we had a war going on, we had the pandemic, we had financial crisis, we had a climate crisis. So I was quite confused what to do with this event and the opportunity I had. When I talked to Bruce, he asked me, do you know Brian Eno's charity EarthSonic? And I said, no, I don't. And he told me about it. And it took me 1 week to try to contact Kathy from EarthSonic, because at that instant moment I knew if I had the opportunity to make this yearly event into something meaningful, I would certainly do it. And on my way to Hamburg, I came up with the name Act in Synch because I thought it was combining all the thinking I had, that we as a music industry should invite other industries to act synchronized. So this is what we do. This is why we are here, to invite industries across Europe to share thoughts on how the music side that we represent can jointfully create a better future. And when I listen to you speak about what you do and what I've learned being a part of EarthSonic for this 1.5 years, is that I just admire your energy and your passion. These small organizations that has all these big ambitions. And when we talk about loneliness, when you talk about your story coming back to the pandemic in your apartment, Tori, it's just heartbreaking. And I'm just actually happy that we had the pandemic, because that was the only thing that could make us reflect on what are we doing here. I don't know if we learned that much, but we are still kind of connected to the feeling that we needed to change. And the opening speak we had yesterday with Knut from Copenhagen taught us that the human species, our DNA, doesn't like change. And we know that. But we need change. And if we could kind of change the habits during the pandemic, I'm sure that with meetings like these and knowing that the future needs us to change, at one point we are changing. And I hope that it's before we are so far stretched and not can turn back, that we realize that we really need to change. Also, what I'm feeling when I'm here is that we are also the privileged, that we can share these thoughts. I don't know if we can go 20 minutes out of Athens or 20 minutes out of Copenhagen and get people to agree not to buy plastic, not to buy more stuff, whatever. Because buying secondhand for me in Copenhagen on a flea market on a Sunday is maybe a Ghani shirt that was used once, maybe not even once. So I'm not that proud of secondhand if it's not really secondhand. That's not for me. I really want to present your projects. And I don't know what order, if we have an order, Ren, do I have a... I call it. Then let's start with Vickie and In Place of War. And what do you want to present us? Do you want to talk now or afterwards?
I think maybe we show the video.
Yeah.
And then once the video is finished, I'll go into a little bit about the project on the record label, seeing as that's my
Brilliant.
speciality.
Excited.
Yeah. Do you want me to do a little intro whilst they're doing
Yeah,
it?
I didn't want to start because then it would start, I thought. but yeah.
Should I do a little intro?
Yeah, do a little intro.
So In
please.
Place of War is a charity and with people working all around the world, and they specialise in working with communities in places of conflict, and they raise funds to create creative safe spaces for people around the world to make. So we work with people in Colombia, in Palestine, and all these different locations. And in 2021, we released a music project called co.founder, which was the first music release from the charity, and that had birthed EarthSonic that we launched in August this year. And the video that is about to play. Oh, this
Here we
is
go.
the panel. Should we play the video first, because that does the whole intro? They don't have it?
We don't have a video now.
No? It's on the email. But, okay. Should I just...
Do this and look for a video. Sorry for that.
So this is EarthSonic, and what is EarthSonic? It's a sound archive that features sounds of biodiversity and species around the world. We have one from the Amazon rainforest that and captures endangered species, extinct species, and also newly discovered species. And this is done in collaboration with scientists and sound recordists globally. We also have live events that are around these sound archives and the releases on the record label. And these live events feature on disappearing landscapes. So, and they're in collaboration with the indigenous communities that we're collaborating with. Okay. Yeah. I guess the button does it all. And then the record label, which is my part, which is why I was brought into EarthSonic, is specializing in releasing new music that is raising awareness of biodiversity and the impact of climate change. And each of the releases and the projects are very unique and include a complete eclectic mix of artists. And a lot of them are collaborations with musicians internationally and quite high prolific ones. And they're collaborating with indigenous communities and creatives around the globe.
Do they use the sounds from the database, actually?
Exactly.
Yeah, they do.
So this one is co.founder. This is the first release that we released in collaboration with the Vinyl Factory back in 2021. This was made in collaboration with scientists in the Colombia's neotropical rainforests, and it was a whole sound archive that we created, and we released this as 100% recycled vinyl and also a digital release. And the aim of it was to raise awareness of the biodiversity of the species that were in these rainforests. And we're about to re-release this on the EarthSonic platform. This is Echoes. Echoes was our first new release on the EarthSonic platform, which was released only a couple of weeks ago. And this one was 7 tracks, and each track was a collaboration with a UK artist and an indigenous community and musician. And we had artists from Japan, Asia Gendi, Oki. I mean, it was completely incredible and eclectic in terms of the sounds. And each of these sounds that were created were a response to the indigenous creatives' environment and the impact of climate change that they have had in recent forms. And the artwork is the background, which is by an artist called Maeve Moyadi. And we might be releasing a limited edition print of this to raise more funds for the indigenous creatives that are part of the project. This is the last scream. So this is a project that we're going to be releasing in 2025, and this is using 2 sound archives that we're creating. The first is also a collaboration with another Colombian group of scientists, and this is the one I mentioned previously, which includes extinct species, endangered species, and the newly discovered sound. So we're capturing, or we're trying to raise awareness of what has passed and what has died, and also trying to regain some hope and share what is newly discovered and to try and tell this narrative. The second archive that we're using for this one is individual sound recordists and scientists internationally that have captured 1 or 2 sounds, and musicians are then invited to have access to these sound archives and create new music. So we currently have 30 musicians signed up and working on the archives and the new music, and we'll be releasing it next year as a music release and also an audio-visual installation that captures the species that we're working with and the visuals that they bring. The Arctic is also a project that we're doing next year with a UK Electronic Act, which I won't say just yet because it will be debuted in Earth Month next year. And this is where they have gone to Greenland and recorded the sound of the disappearing glacier out there. And we have lots of melting ice, and it's about recording these disappearing landscapes that might not exist in the future. And they are collaborating with indigenous artists that live around this glacier. And so they're creating a 30-minute new music that will also be an audio-visual installation with all these incredible landscape footage and raising awareness of the impacts of climate change. So that's 3 releases. I won't go into anything else.
We have the video ready, but
you have?
But do you want to?
Should I finish and then we can?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've only got this. So with every release with EarthSonic and all of the other work that we're doing, we're inviting people to take part in these 6 acts, and whether they want to do 1, 2, or all of them, it's up to them. But we're providing the information that people can access to make small and subtle changes in their everyday life. Feel free to take a photo of this if you want to have a read. It's also on our website, which is www.earthsonic.net.
Can I just take a picture because there's some questions there, I think.
Yeah? Oh, there we go. So we work with, these are a list of our partners, but I think it's important to say that as a charity, we wouldn't exist without collaboration. And we work with all these people, we work with musicians, we work with scientists, we work with climate activists, and even Tori here is on our climate advisory board. And we've had a conversation with Earth% to see if we can collaborate in future, giving a little bit back into the work that Earth% is doing. And also for yourself as a musician, it would be amazing to invite you to participate.
Yes, I was already ogling that database thinking like, okay, I know what I'm doing when I'm off this panel. Yeah. I'm going to check out the database.
Well, we can chat, and then if you want to be involved in the last screen, you're more than welcome. We'd love to have you on board. And that's it from me. If anyone has any questions or they want to email me, please do. And want to show the video? Have I gone over?
I just want to say one thing, and I'm not going to comment on everyone, but the way you say the sound of the disappearing glacier, as it was just like, well, you can get a good kebab over here. It just frightens me. Sorry to say.
It's very scary.
Yeah, it is.
And I think that's why it's so important to do these projects, because this is what's happening.
Yeah.
And for me, I've been working on these projects every day, and I say it like this because I see it every day, and I think it's the importance of doing these projects and having the visuals and the proof that it's happening, and it's happening now, and that's what makes it so important to take action and inspire some sort of change in the audiences. And for us, we do like to work with the youth and inspire action because they do have very loud voices, and it's inspiring to work.
Was it Olaf Eliasson that invited a friend to Arctic to a funeral for an iceberg? I think
funeral of the landscape.
Exactly.
Isn't that sad?
Yeah. Let's see the video.
Let's go for it.
For the past 2 decades, In Place of War has been using music in places of conflict to bring about positive change. Every year, the urgency of climate change has become more and more evident in the places that we work. We need to act now, or it will be too late. In 2024, we will shine a light on this critical issue by delivering an extraordinary concert at 2 disappearing glacier sites in the Arctic Circle. Using the power of music, we hope to inspire new action around this critical situation that faces us all. We have already confirmed some major international and Indigenous artists to play, including Bicep, Radiohead's Ed O'Brien, Matthew Dia, Nuka Alice, Tanya Tagak, and many more. In London, our partner Outernet will be screening the event via the most advanced immersive screen technology in the world, with 23,000 square feet of giant wraparound floor-to-ceiling screens engaging over 200,000 people in the heart of the city. We're also working with additional streaming platforms to amplify the messaging and engage as many people globally as possible. This is part of EarthSonic, a larger global project telling the story of climate change through music, working with Indigenous communities, musicians, scientists, activists, and climate experts. As part of this, we'll be creating an archive of field recordings, documenting the changing sounds of the biodiversity and landscapes in the Arctic and beyond. Working with a diverse group of globally recognised artists, we will then turn those sounds into pieces of music to reach as many people as possible. This project aims to distill big, complicated data, reaching people's hearts and minds, inspiring them to take action. Music has been a catalyst for change in so many historical global challenges. Let's use it to save our dying planet.
It deserves some applauding, I think. Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. Misia?
Yeah, I have a presentation, which is the UK chapter presentation. The way Music Declares Emergency works, it has like what we call the mothership, the UK chapter of the organization, which is where the organization started. It's now the fifth anniversary of that. It started in 2019. And then chapters all over the world started happening. So I represent the one in Poland. But I'll just very quickly go through the PDF, which is the presentation done by the UK chapter, just to give you a general overview where it started, where the organization is coming from, and mention a few things that some of the other chapters do. Basically, the angle of Music Declares Emergency, what they came up with 5 years ago was that the UK has one of the most influential music scenes in the world, and that it's probably very doable if you get a bunch of musicians and music professionals and they really want to activate the musicians and prepare them to speak about the climate, that they will do that, and that way they will also activate the youth, which is very active and wants to get on board, and that has further impact. Let me see, where are we on this? This is like a middle of the presentation, so that's the wrong way. Let's go to the yes. So No Music on a Dead Planet is basically like the slogan of Music Declares Emergency, and this year it was also turned into a movement. So there's a No Music on a Dead Planet movement, which was launched in collaboration with the Brit Awards. But basically, yeah, this is about the strategy. So like involving artists, engaging them to further engage the audiences and educate through that. Yeah, I'm not going to read all this, but just quickly go through the slides. There are some pretty big names also that got onto the campaign, as you can see here. Very recently, Billie Eilish started her show with like the big banner with like No Music on a Dead Planet. So there's actually a couple names on board, and the movement was launched with the Brits and already has like 8,000 plus subscribers. The network, as you can see, is very broad. There is no Greece on the list. So if any of you feel interested and have the capacity to open a Greece chapter of Music Declares, do get in touch, because there are a lot. And the way the organization works, the chapters are really free to do whatever they feel their own market needs. So there's no like, we are as an organization doing this right now. Some chapters do lobbying with the government, and some do educational projects on recycling or writing hospitality green writers, if that's what the music community needs. So it's very, very different. Yes, that's the Brit Awards. Yes, supporting artists to speak out. Actually, the Dutch chapter did something which I think is very interesting, which was basically media training, because there were artists who were interested in getting involved, but they felt a bit insecure and weren't sure if they can speak reasonably about, reasonably, and just, that they are correct in terms of numbers or names, or they needed some support in that regard. So they actually did a very structured media training for artists so that they are then feel more secure about speaking about climate. Yes, getting youth involved, that's like a very similar point to what you had on your presentation. And these are some numbers in terms of impact, which is pretty good. Goals and ambitions, fundraising goals. Yeah, I guess this is the way to get in touch with the UK chapter. Something that I find, like every chapter does, like I said, their own thing. So there are multiple inspiring projects that I could talk about for a very long time, which I don't have. But one that I would like to mention, because the fashion aspect has been mentioned here also yesterday in multiple ways. The Canadian chapter did something very interesting where they first educated and got different artists on board, talking to them about the fashion industry, and then encouraging them to wear vintage stuff or remake the clothes that they already used for different galas and outings. And then they did interviews at the Junos with them and prepared a lot of footage and informational material out of that. And that's, I think, very inspiring. I'll try to do that in Poland at the next coming Polish version of Grammys, whatever, Junos or Brits. So yeah, there's a lot of scripts, ideas, and ways to influence your own community. If you want to get inspired, just get in touch with Music Declares Emergency.
Thank you. I'm really happy to see that the music industry and the artists are shaping up and attending all this. And, we are constantly talking about the impact of music, and it definitely seems that we have found our right place and spot to use our voices with you guys, with all the programs you have. Becky, Earth%, a lot of initiatives, I know.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Becky. I'm Head of Operations and Community at Earth%. We do a lot. We're quite a small team, but there's a lot that we're trying to do. So I'm going to try to rush through it in 5 minutes. The core mission is really to unleash the power of music in service of the planet. We were co-founded by Brian Eno, who you've already seen on the screen, a very long-term climate activist, and by other music professionals, managers, agents, people who were tired of sort of talking and complaining about the impact of the music industry and wanted to take action and wanted to really embed climate action into the work that they do, their artists do, that their teams do. So we started in 2020, right just before the pandemic hit, with the idea that we would invite the whole of the industry, as artists and so on, to pledge 1% to the planet. Just before the whole live industry came to a halt. Great timing. But what the pandemic did was evolve so that we are not just asking artists who are touring to donate 1%, but we're asking recording artists, songwriters, composers, music lawyers, music agents, sound suppliers, the roadies, everyone across music, so that literally anyone who loves music, who works in music, can get involved and can pledge a percentage of their earnings or a percentage of a specific project to Earth%. The idea is that we are redistributing the amazing resources that the music industry has and giving it as much money as quickly as possible to the best and most impactful climate solutions, environmental solutions, nature and biodiversity organizations, campaigners. We immediately set up an expert panel, which Tori is on. And the idea was that there is a lot of goodwill in the music industry. There's a lot of people who want to do good, but they don't know where to give money or time or energy. And that's a really difficult amount of research to do, and it's hard to know. So we brought together some incredible policymakers, young youth activists, scientists, researchers, academics, to essentially be the people who decide and vet where the best organizations around the world are, so that we can make sure that the money that we're raising from the music industry is going to the most impactful places. So as well as like harnessing the power of harnessing the sort of income and revenue streams, we also, part of our mission is to really empower artists to become advocates if they want to inspire them to take action, no matter how big or small of an artist they are. As we've heard, there's so much cultural influence in music. No one lives a music-free life. Well, not many people, I don't know, live a music-free life. And music is everywhere. It's throughout history. It's in all cultures. And I think that it has a real opportunity to touch people's hearts, to bring communities together, to bring people into amazing spaces, to inspire them to make change in a way that data and science and facts can't always do. They can only go so far. And music is the business of feelings. It's the business of emotions, and that makes us take action a lot quicker. So there's all the recent COPs are suddenly clocking on to the fact that, hey, we actually need culture and music to get involved in this movement in order to make change. I think that's a little bit late, but yeah, it's also what we're basing Earth% on, that there's an amazing power in bringing the music community together, and let's be an industry that is far ahead of all the other industries, creative and non-creative industries, and we really think that we're trying to embed this kind of action into the infrastructure of the music industry. So it's not just about inviting people to give a 1%, like philanthropy. That's really important. Only less than 3% of philanthropy worldwide is going towards climate and nature projects. More money is going towards like saving donkeys than climate justice groups, or, I mean, donkeys are great, but more money is, obviously a lot of child philanthropy. There's lots of important causes out there, but I would argue that trying to save the plants, species, and people who live on this planet is one of the most important ones. So we're trying to really raise that amount of philanthropy, but at the same time, we don't want it to just be an act of charity that people do. We want it to feel really embedded in the industry, and so we also work on innovative new projects that embed the earth into the way that we raise money in music, the way that we make songs, the way that we host concerts and do tours. Maybe we can show a video.
Let's do it.
It's really kind of building on the idea that nature has personhood, that nature should be honoured for her work. And yeah, I'll explain. I'll shut up.
Listen. Imagine if these sounds were featured every time we listen to this. So nature can finally be credited for her work and receive funds for her own conservation. Nature is now officially an artist and is collaborating with some of the biggest names in music. It's time to become a fan of nature. All you have to do is listen. How does that sound? Listen.
So that was a project called Sounds Right, which was launched by the Museum for the UN in partnership with Earth% and lots of other global partners. And the idea was to launch nature as an artist on streaming platforms like Spotify and Apple, so that we can actually raise money via streaming royalties that we can redirect back to nature conservation projects. We've just announced that we've awarded $225,000 to, I think, 13 different Colombian conservation groups this year, because we partnered with a sound library called Vostera, which was experts, field recordings, all from the Colombian rainforest. And we partnered with some incredible global artists to remix or remake songs of theirs featuring the sounds of nature, to really honor the fact that nature's maybe the world's first musician, and that we would not have any music without nature and without the earth, obviously, no music on a dead planet. And that, like they do in indigenous cultures, that nature deserves those rights, that honoring, that even legal copyright, you could ask, you could argue. And we've just released, well, Nature has just released 10 new tracks in the last few months with human artist collaborators as well. And at least 50% of the recording royalties goes towards nature. And we work with our expert panelists to decide on the best organizations to fund with that money. So yeah, that's an example of a kind of a new innovation that we're doing that requires the support of the industry, the support of streaming platforms, support of music lawyers, and lots of amazing people on our music advisory board, which Nis is on as well, who help us make these contacts and help spread the word in the industry. Another example of that is something that I thought was really relevant for Act and Sync, because a lot of people here might be working in publishing or in the sync world. And it's very similar. We launched it a bit before last year, and it's called The Earth as Your Co-Writer. And this is allowing songwriters and composers to co-credit the earth on the with assigning them rights on the publishing side of a song. So if you release a song, it has master recording rights and it also has publishing rights. And by enabling people to credit the earth as a writer, we can raise publishing royalties. And again, we collect all of that. Are you releasing a song? Amazing. And so, yeah, so all of the money that we raise is going towards a very holistic view of funding the climate issue. It's going towards greening music. So we fund Music Declares Emergency and A Greener Future, who helped the Massive Attack concert that we saw at the beginning. So we were really intent on funding innovation within the music industry, so to help it get greener, become more sustainable. But also we fund climate justice groups. We fund legal and policy change, so people who, like Client Earth, who are taking big oil and governments to court. We fund groups that are working on the transition away from fossil fuels, like Fossil Fuel Treaty. And we also fund nature and biodiversity conservation. So please get in touch, earth%.org, if you want to support, if you want to donate, if you want to introduce us to someone who is knows Elton John and wants to give us 1% of all his publishing royalties. We work with people in lots of different ways to try and make sure that everyone across music can take action.
Fantastic. Thank you. I also want to say that coming from the music side, it has been amusing, I think maybe that's the word, to follow your work with Earth as your co-writer, because Becky didn't know that much about music publishing, I think, for a year ago. Now you know more than anyone else, because it's really complicated to ask the industry to actually agree on a set where you kind of legally can say that the Earth is your co-writer. So it has been a long way in the making, and also a lot of legal people giving advice to how to make this work. It sounds pretty easy. We are two people in the room writing a song, and we just agree that someone else is in the room, and that is the Earth, and we want to like give, we want to split it into three. But it has been a tremendous amount of work with all the dots and all the legal
Basically,
stuff.
the Earth doesn't have personhood,
No.
so you can't give it copyright legally.
No.
But let's change that if anyone wants to help me do
There's
that.
a lot of AI we heard over the last. It's not legal anyway, so let's think. What is the biggest challenge when you look back at what you have presented to us today to make this really, really work and make the change that you dream of? Vickie, and then. No, you can go last. Who want to go first?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say, that it's basically the toughest, and it always has been for me, it's the governments and then the big corporations, because you have a lot of people who want to get engaged, and for them, like even the brands that kind of want to get close to the green strategies, but it's because, it's for the wrong reasons. They're kind of pushing the responsibility onto the artists, what was also mentioned on the advertising panel yesterday. And it's easy for them to do that, but to really like walk the walk and get on board, it's way more difficult. So it's the governments and the big players, because in terms of like percentage, they're having them on board would have so much more impact, because they just make a huge difference.
No, I would completely agree with everything that's been said, and I think it's important to understand that change needs to happen. And one of the initiatives that I haven't spoken about with the EarthSonic record label is that we're currently doing research into how a record label and the music industry can be 100% carbon-free, and whether that's possible or not, and what needs to be given up to make that achievable, and is it realistic? Like, what happens? Like, do you have to get all of those geothermal servers, and everyone has to move to them? It's all about reassessing the industry and providing the information as to what it needs to change. And the hope is that people see that and they see the answer and they act on that. But it's been mentioned previously that people don't really like change, and we need to create that domino effect where the leaders start to take action, and hopefully, one by one, we'll get there. But it's teamwork, and I think everyone on this panel is doing their utmost part to try and make that change. So we can only hope.
There's so many things I want to say. It'll be a lot more expensive and bad for business if businesses don't radically change right now. So how can everyone in this room drastically change the way that we're doing business and generating profit, and how prioritizing people? Because as Tori said, we're already en route to climate disaster. It's about mitigating the impact now and trying to get as much money as possible to the front line of organizations in the Amazon and organizations in different parts of the globe, and people like the Fossil Fuel Treaty, who are really trying to slow it down and prevent the worst happening. So make the companies that you work for see that, make your CEOs see that, change the way that you do business now.
I want to end this by saying, as individuals, all of you, you are really, really important for this planet. And I'm proud on behalf of my kids to be able to invite you here to share this. Thank you from the bottom.
Thanks for having me.